Hey everyone, hope you had a great weekend. I'm going to go over your review packet for you today, and hopefully it won't be too bad. If you guys have questions, obviously office hours today is a really good idea because you can ask me whatever you need to for your test tomorrow, and then we should be good to go. So I'm going to start out by writing out on your first ones, you use these. F of x was 6x minus 19. G of x is 4x squared plus 8x plus 32. And h of x is negative 1/3 x plus 2. All right, so we had to plug some stuff in. So the first thing they want is, what is g of 6? So we're going to take 6, we're going to plug it in for x. So it's going to go here. It's going to go here. Now, a couple people asked me in class, order of operations, make sure you do your exponents first. So 6 times 6 is 36. And then we would do 36 times 4, which gives me 144. 6 times 8 is 48. And when you add all those together, you're going to get your g of 6 equals 224. So that's the first one. You plug in 6 in g. The next one, keep those formulas up there. They wanted to know what f of negative 9 was. So f of negative 9, and we're just going to take it, plug negative 9 in for x. 6 times negative 9 is negative 54. Minus 19 is going to give me f of negative 9 is, let's see, 20, negative 73. So there's f of negative 9. And then number 3, they wanted h of 8. H of 8. So we're going to go h negative 1/3 times 8 plus 2. Remember, if I got a fraction, I can go straight across. So negative 1 times 8, 3 times 1. And then if I want to add those, I would just make this common denominator. So 2 as thirds would be 6/3. Negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2. Keep the denominator. That's going to be h of 8 is negative 2/3. Awesome. All right. What else do we need? F of 26. So we're going to go 6 times 26. And that gives me 156 minus 19. And f of 26 should give me 137. And then we want h of 39. Okay. That's going to be negative 1/3 times 39 plus 2. Negative 1/3 times 39, that one's not so bad. That's negative 13 plus 2 is negative 11. H of 39 is negative 11. And the last one at the top there, we had g of negative 2. So g of negative 2 there we go. And then let's see, negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. 8 times negative 2 is also negative 16. Plus 32. All right. And then negative 16 plus negative 16 plus 32 is just 0. So g of negative 2 is going to give you 0. So on those function notation ones on your test, just make sure that you plug in your number. You should show your steps just like how I did. Plug it in, see what you get. All right, so as long as you can do that, you should be fine for those ones. At the bottom here, they wanted you to state the domain and the range. So this is just looking, right? This is just, we're not doing much. So, and then they wanted to say if they're a function or if they're one-to-one. So, let's see here. Number 7, the domain, remember domain is going to be all the x's. So your domain in number 7 is going to be 9, 11, 14, 0, 5, negative 6. Remember, if they repeat, we only write them once. If you want, usually when you write them down, something like domain, usually there's curly Q brackets. And you don't have to write them in order. Some people are picky about that. I don't really care. As long as you know it's the x's, I'm going to be pretty happy. So something like that. And then the range, you're going to write the exact same way. The range on this one, negative 4 shows up twice. We only write it once. So negative 4, 1, negative 7, 15, negative 3. And then it is a function, because function means that all the x's are different. But it is not one-to-one because the y values repeat. So it's a function, not one-to-one. Number 8 is, let's see. The domain would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the x's. The range would be negative 77, negative 68, negative 59, negative 50, negative 41, negative 32, negative 23. It is a function because all the x's are different. And it is one-to-one also because all the y's are different. Now, number 9, the domain's a little bit more interesting, right? Because you don't have a set of numbers. So where would the x's happen in this graph? Well, it goes all the way left, it goes all the way to the right. So for your domain here, you have some options. You could write all real numbers. That would be fine. Probably the easiest way to see this is the domain. They would say something like negative infinity to positive infinity. And that would be set notation, which would work. But basically what you're saying is that this data is not, it's continuous data. It's not discrete. We talked about that. So therefore, it's all those numbers in between there. It's all the numbers. And the range is actually going to be the same thing because it could also go as far up and as far down as it wanted to go. So it's all real numbers or negative infinity to positive infinity for that too. This one is a function because it would pass the vertical line test, right? It would only touch once, but it is not one-to-one because it would not pass the horizontal line test. And then let's see, number 10 on the mapping here. The range is negative 9, negative 1, I'm sorry. The domain is negative 9, negative 1, 0, 5, and 15. The range is negative 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. It is not a function because 0 gets used twice, but it is one-to-one because all the y values only get used once. So that's just a little section talking about vocab, making sure you know what you're doing. Let's see. 11 through 14 talks about the shifts. So remember, if the shift is on the inside next to x, if our k value, if you want to think of it that way, is there. So let's say I had if you see something over here, that's horizontal. And remember, horizontal shifts are opposite sign. So if it says minus, it's going to the right. If it says plus, it's going to the left. If you see it like this one, where the k value is on the outside over there in parentheses, that's going to be a vertical shift. And plus would be up, minus would be down. So on number 11 here, it's going to be a shift to the right 6. 12 is going to be a shift down 12. 13 is a shift up 6. And 14 is a shift left 2. All right, and on your test, you might have to, they might ask you to describe the shift. They might ask you to write the equation if it shifts so far this direction. So you should be able to go both ways there. All right, recursive and explicit formulas. So your first one, that's good enough. All right. So let's see here. The first one looks like this. And we want to write a recursive formula and an explicit formula. And then what term did they want me to find? They wanted me to find the 46th term. So let's start with recursive. So we know our a sub 1 we have to define as the first term, that's negative 44. And then the recursive formula is always going to be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1. Remember, those are always going to be in every single one of them. And then whatever our common difference here is, or our slope, if you want to think of it that way, in this case it looks like minus 4, right? That's going to always go at the end here. So that is our recursive formula. A sub 1 is negative 44, and a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 minus 4. For the explicit formula, we have a sub n equals our common difference, so negative 4. And that's going to, our first term, a sub 1, which is negative 44, plus our common difference times n minus 1. That go off the screen? No, we're good. All right, so this time, remember that our general formula here, a sub 1 goes here, our slope, or common difference, goes here, and then this time we actually have to distribute a little bit, right? So that's going to be negative 44. Negative 4 times n is negative 4n. Negative 4 times negative 1 is plus 4. And then those are going to be like terms. So a sub n, negative 44 plus 4 is negative 40, plus negative 4n. That's going to be our explicit formula. And then that one obviously is going to be the one that can help us with this 46th term. All we're going to do is plug 46 in for n right here. So we got a of 46 equals negative 40 plus negative 4 times 46. And let's see what we get. Negative 4 times 46 gave me negative 184 plus negative 40 gives me a sub 46 equals negative 224. So that is our, once we find our explicit formula, we can plug in the term we want, 46 in this case, and for n. And in this case, we're going to get negative 224. All right, let's do the same thing for the other, whatever that thing's called, sequence, arithmetic sequence. All right. So the next one was negative 13, negative 7, negative 1, 5. So in this one, a sub 1 is negative 13. Our common difference looks like we are adding this time, and in particular adding 6. So let's see, a sub n equals a sub n. Oh, we need a sub 1 first, negative 13. And then a sub n minus 1 plus 6 would go here, because we're adding 6 each time. And then for our explicit, we are going to go a sub n, and let's see, our first term is negative 13 plus 6n minus 1. And then we'll distribute the 6 times the n minus 1, so negative 13, 6 times n, 6n, 6 times negative 1, negative 6. Add your like terms, negative 19 plus 6n, and that's going to be a sub n. So that's your final explicit formula. And then, if I want to find, what was it on this one? This one we wanted the 26th term. Okay, so for the 26th term, a of 26, we're just going to take this formula and plug 26 in. So let's see, 6 times 26 is 150. 156 plus negative 19, and a sub 26 gave me 137. All right, so those are the arithmetic sequence ones. If you need to, you may have to write both formulas. You may only have to write one of them. You'll probably have to find a term. Remember that the recursive formula is really good for finding like the next term. So if this is negative 13, add 6 to it, and the next one's negative 7. And then add 6 to that, and the next one's negative 1, right? That's really good. And the explicit formula is good for finding one that's far off. All right, and then if you notice that I carved up parts of this little test form, I'm not gonna talk too much about like a lot of the vocab stuff. Some of it is important, the stuff we went over together. Some of it I don't think is super important, so I am not gonna put a lot of that on your test, which is why I scribbled some out. So for the first one, the relation that's a function, I'm looking for the x values. Which ones are all different? That'd be B. All the x's are completely different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2, the domain is going to be the x's. So 2, 8, 30, 46. The range is negative 1, 9, and 16. Make sure you only write 16 one time. Number 4, Jack works after school. Each day he earns a set amount plus an hourly wage. Write a linear function for Jack to determine his pay. Okay, so if it ever says write a linear function, I'm thinking slope-intercept form. So I'm just going to pick 2 of those values from that table. I'm going to pick 118. I'm going to pick one without a decimal. Let's do 338. All right, so let's say those are the 2 I pick. I'm going to find the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is going to give me 20 over 2, which is 10. So my slope here is 10. That's how much money he makes per hour. And then if I want my y-intercept, I'm going to pick a point. And I'm going to plug in 18 here. Slope is 10. 1 for x. 10 times 1 is 10. Subtract 10 from both sides. And my y-intercept is 8. So this equation in slope-intercept form is going to be y equals 10x plus 8. And that is any time that they ever want me to write anything that says linear, I'm going to do the same thing. Pick 2 points, find the slope, find the y-intercept. And then they said, which one's a reasonable domain? Well, he's working after school for a day. So he can't work 24 hours after school. Can't work 68 hours after school. He can only work 6. 0 to 6. Seems like the most reasonable domain there. And then it says, assume that Jack works from 2:30 to 7. How much money would he earn? Well, that, I just had to count the hours. So that's 4.5 hours. I'm going to plug 4.5 in for x right here. So 10 times 4.5 plus 8. Let's see, that's going to be 45 plus 8, which is $53. So that was option, D. He would get $53 if he worked from 2:30 to 7. All right, now number 7 was kind of cool, so I definitely want to do that one for you. All right, number 7, they gave us f of x was negative x plus 6. And they said, what's g of x if it equals f of x plus 3? All right, well, if I want f of x plus 3, I know anything I see in here, I just plug in for x. So over here for f of x plus 3, I'm going to plug in negative, and then I'm going to plug in x plus 3, like that. All I did was I took this that they gave me, and I put it in where x was. This negative on the outside is like a negative 1 when I distribute it. So that's going to be negative x plus negative 3 plus 6. And then those are like terms, 6 and negative 3. So f of x plus 3 is just going to be negative x plus 3. And that's it. So g of x, or f of x plus 3, is just going to be negative x plus 3. Not so bad. Number 8, they wanted you to fill in the number for k to describe that transformation. So f is the graph on top, which is important, or on the left, I guess. G is the one on the right. So if it goes from f to, if it goes from f to g, then it's going to go down based on where that k is. And it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So the k value there is negative 5. It's going to go down 5. Number 10, which one's an arithmetic sequence? So which one am I adding or subtracting a number constantly throughout the whole thing? Only the first one works. Negative 2, negative 5, negative 8, negative 11, negative 14, negative 17. Some people in class thought it was D. However, the last one is off by 1. Number 11. Oh yeah, let's do number 11. And then most of this back part is just lines of best fit, scatter plots, and a lot of that is you being able to use the technology. So the cost of having one pizza delivered is $14. Each additional pizza is $9 more. Write an explicit formula and a recursive formula. So the first pizza delivered is 14 bucks. Everyone after that is $9 more. So that's my common difference, is 9. And then I know the first one. So recursive, I'm going to go a sub n equals a sub n minus 1. And I just need this plus 9. And then make sure you define a sub 1 equals 14. So you know where to start. For explicit, I'm going to go a sub n equals 14 plus 9 times n minus 1. And then we got a little bit of work to do. 9 times n is 9n. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. 14 minus 9 or plus negative 9 is $5. And there is my explicit formula, 5 plus 9n. Or 9n plus 5, however you want to write that. Yeah. All right, so 12. For number 12, you're going to draw that graph in. I suppose, I wonder if you'll be able to see it okay if I draw it. Obviously, I'm assuming that most of you guys use just plotted your points on there. If they ask you to draw a graph, definitely do so. Obviously, you can still look at Desmos for, matters that interest you. But you still want to draw it if they want you to. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So let's see. Here's the graph they gave you. And I'll try not to make mine look too sloppy here. So 2, 23, 2.5, 28. So somewhere in the middle here, up to 28. And 3, 34. And let's see, 3.5, 34 also. And 4, 40. All right, so not bad. Yeah, you can see that okay, right? And then it said to draw a trend line in. So, somewhere, remember, your line should have points on both sides of it. Trying to go as straight as possible there. We want to match the slope, have points above, points below. This one, they're really, really close there, so I think that's probably okay. What type of relationship? This would be positive, because as the x's increase, the y's also increase. We see that positive slope of my line there. Which one could be a possible equation? Well, it looks like the slope is either 6 or 8. So what I did was I chose 2 points. Those ones look pretty close to my line. And then I just found my slope from there and saw which one was closer. So for me, that looks like the last point and the second point, which of course I picked one with a decimal. Cool. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is going to give me 12 over 1.5. And 12 divided by 1.5. Let's see here. 12 divided by 1.5 is going to give me 8 exactly. So that, there's not much suspense there. So my slope is going to be 8. But then it says, is the y-intercept going to be 8 or is it going to be 15, basically? So let's just keep going. I'll pick this point. So y equals mx plus b. We're going to plug in 40 for y, 8 for m, 4 for that. 8 times 4 is 32. Minus 32 from both sides. And b also equals 8. So it looks like option D here is the best option. Because I got that exact same trend line. So that's what you get if you pick the second point and the last point. What does the y-intercept represent? Well, this is kind of an interesting one, right? Usually we're looking for something about starting value, but you got to read 12. Each day this person exercises by first doing sit-ups and then running. Make a scatter plot of the total time she spends as a function of the distance she runs. So the graph is only about her running. So when does she start running? When she's done with her sit-ups. So if I look at 15, the first one, the average time doing sit-ups would be your y-intercept, because that's your starting value, because then she's going to start running after that. And then it says in number 17, how long will it take her to run 5 miles? Well, we have that formula, right? We just found my line of best fit was y equals 8x plus 8. Let's plug in 5. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 8 is just 48. So it looks like it's going to take her around 48 minutes to run 5 miles after she does her sit-ups. And then number 19, which one suggests a weak positive correlation? Remember, if it's weak, it's going to be closer to 0. If it's strong, it's going to be closer to 1. And obviously we want a positive number, so that's going to be A. And then, does the table show a negative or a positive relationship? That one is going to be positive, because as the x's increase, the y's also increase. Then it asks about causation, which you don't have to worry about that, because we're not going to worry about that. It just basically means, like, does it make sense that this one thing would cause the other thing? So does it make sense that their grade level is causing them to grow? Yeah, it kind of does, because you're getting older as you move up grades, right? Something like that. So that's pretty much what your test is going to look like. I think it's actually on the easy side a little bit, but if there's definitely stuff that you guys want to talk about on here, let me know. Hit me up today, and I will be available for you. All right. Have a good one.